again, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with the continuation part 2 of the Interlocking Bargello Stitch. Very exciting because, well, we are going to review some of the previous material and going to show you a bit of new stuff as well. So, because I like to be thorough, and because I know that this is very much a new and foreign thing to a lot of you, it was to me not that long ago, I am going to be doing a full repeat, which is rows 3A, 3B, 4A, and 4B. And then I'm going to show you how you can finish your piece so that it is joined at the edges and it will have a much more cohesive look. All right, so buckle in, strap yourselves down, and let's get to work, shall we? Alrighty. Okie dokie. So, row 3A, going to be working with our dominant color, in my case, the blue. And I already chained up 3 when I finished the row previously. And so for row 3A, we're going to be doing a double into that first bar there. Thank you. Chain 1 and another front stitch in the next. There we go. And then we're going to alternate back and forth between back, front, back, front, back, front, all the way until we reach the end where we're going to have 3 in the front. All right, so chain 1, scooch around to the back, grab that stitch, pull it to the back, and do your double. Chain 1, into the front. Oops. Thank you. So we did our back, we did a front, and then we get to do it over and over again until we reach the end. Chain 1, around the back, grab that stitch, and do your double. Chain 1, next is in the front. Chain 1, around the back, grabbing too much. There we go. Just into the top of that double crochet stitch. Chain 1, 1 in the front, pull it to the front and double, chain 1, round the back, pull that stitch to the back and double, chain 1, next is in the front, chain 1, next is in the back, chain 1, next is in the front. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to see your stitches, so you have to sort of scooch your layers accordingly. Chain 1, next to the back. There we go. And then we've got 3 stitches left. 1, 2, and 3. And those are going to be in the front. So chain 1 to the front. Chain 1 in the front. Chain 1 and just going into this chain space in the front, and then finish off with your chain 3, and that sets it up for the next row where we use the A color. And of course my yarn's getting a little bit tangled. Such is life, right? Okay, so at the end of row 3A, your piece should look like this. All right, nice and pretty. Okay, continuing on to row 3B. Okay, so for row 3B, using our secondary color, we already chained up 3 and into this second box, not the first box, into the second box, going in, and we're going to grab our stitch, pull it to the front, chain 1, and the next one is also going to be a front. There we go. And now we're going to be going back and forth in pairs of 2. Well, a pair is 2 stitches. Groups of 2. 2 in the front, 2 in the back, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, back, forth, until we reach the end where we're doing our last stitch in the back, because that's where the yarn originated from. So, chain 1. We did our 2 in the front, so we have to do 2 in the back. So, around the back, grab that stitch, chain 1, again in the back. So even though this is 2 rows, 2 passes for each row, it really is quite simple when you break it down. You know, which color does what, which layer does what. So we did 2 in the back, now we do 2 in the front. And also, after a while, you'll be able to understand how the stitches are working. And if it looks wrong, well, then you know how to fix it. You know, it's like, oh, wait, I should have gone in the back, not in the front, kind of thing. All right, so got those 2 in the front. Now we do chain 1 and then 2 in the back. And you'll be able to read your stitching after a while, be able to figure out where do I go from here, kind of thing. Chain 1, then 1 in the back. But it does require practice. I will be the first to say it. Chain 1, and then we need 2 in the front, right? But that's how it is with most things. Practice, practice, practice. And if you do that, eventually it will click. It will sink in, and you'll be able to know exactly where to go, wherever you are, you know, within the repeat of the pattern. Okay, so we did the fronts. Now 2 in the back. And don't forget to chain 1 in between your stitches. I've done it plenty of times myself, so I'm going to remind you. There we are. Chain 1. And we have a total of 3 stitches left. We've got this one right here. And then if you turn to the back, we've got 2 more. So these next 2 are going to be in the front. And then that last stitch goes in the back. Go in there, grab that stitch, pull it to the front. Oops, I almost had it. Almost. There we go. Chain 1, and then if you sort of flip this a little bit forward, it's easier to see. Oh, there we are, into that loop there, that eyelet, double crochet, and chain up 3. And so now your piece should look like this. So nice and pretty. And then the back side should look something like this. So you can see how the pattern is just continuing on, blossoming forth like a regal flower. All right, so onwards and upwards to rows 4A and 4B. Row 4A, we're going to be working with our dominant color, but it is on the back side there. So you need to make sure that the front-facing color, in this case, the sugar cookie color, that this yarn is in the front, in front of the yarn that we're going to be working with. Very, very important, because otherwise they're going to cross on this edge, and you do not want that. So got too many loops on the hook. There we go. All right. So with, again, the passive color in the front there, not going to be working with it. We're just going to be working with our A color. The B color, well, we'll get to there. So going to do a double crochet into this stitch in the back here. Chain 1, scoot it to the front, and then we're going to go in a front, back, front, back, front, back, you know, back and forth all the way across. So this one was in the back from the get-go, and so this next one is going to be in the front. Chain 1, and then in the back, chain 1, then in the front, chain 1, and then in the back, chain 1, in the front, chain 1, and then in the back. And if you're ever lost, you can just sort of follow the line work and see where it's going, because based on the previous rows, you see that it creates sort of like a staircase. Well, in this case, a little staircase. So it'd be going over in the front as opposed to recessing, you know, in behind. You know, I really do hope that this makes sense. I know that this is probably blowing some minds here, but you know, it's a simple mechanic, but once you understand how it works, it's like magic. So I chained 1, and then because we did one in the back, we then do one in the front. Chain 1, and then one in the back. Chain 1, one in the front. Chain 1, and then in the back. Chain 1 to the front. Chain 1 to the back. Chain 1 in the front. There we go. Chain 1. Next is to the back, and then our last one is also in the back. So into the back, chain 1, and then the last stitch goes into that eyelet space at the very end. There we go, and then chain up 3. Ta-dum! All right. Wants to fight with me. All right, and that is the end of row 4A. Okay. Okay, end of the repeat, row 4B. So get myself situated here. There we are. Okie dokie. So it's going to be groupings of 2. With color A, it's groupings of 1, if you will, front, back, front, back, front, back. But with color B, it's groupings of 2. So starting with 2 in the front. So we're skipping this one, going into that next one there, in the front. Chain 1 in the front. Chain 1, and then 2 in the back. So around the back, grab that stitch and double. Chain 1, round the back, grab that stitch and double. Chain 1. Okay, then 2 in the front. So I get a front, chain 1, then another front, chain 1, okay, 2 in the back, one more in the back there, chain 1, 2 in the front, separated by chain 1 spaces, of course. Chain 1, okay, 2 in the back, one more, chain 1. All right, so we've got 3 stitches left, 1, 2, and 3. So it's 2 in the front, and then the last one is also in the front. So in the front, chain 1, in the front, chain 1, and then last but not least, double crochet into that last eyelet space. And chain 3. Okay, so turning it, actually first let me show you. This is what your piece should now look like, all nice and pretty. And then the back side, the dominant side, this is what your piece will then look like. So basically it is really just a matter of repeating rows 3A, 3B, 4A, 4B over and over and over again until your piece is as big as you want it to be. Then there's one more step involved, and then we can get into actually doing the edging, the full edging. And that, well, when you exactly do that, that is a matter of personal preference, but we will get into that. Okay, so when your piece is big enough, granted, this is just my swatch here, but, for all intents and purposes, it's big enough for me. So when your piece is big enough, you then have to do a corresponding edge, just like the one we started with at the very, very beginning, with your dominant color. And right now, we are at the point where we can work with our color A, our dominant color, and I'm going to do an entire row of just front stitches, just like we have down here, so that it will create what we need, a foundation for our border stitches. Now, as far as when you want to do this, that is totally up to you, but you know, like I could do another row A and then a row B and then do a row A. You know, it depends on where you want your patterning to be, but due to the nature of the Bargello, it's not going to be symmetric on both sides, you know, on both ends. So that being said, just going to do one row of all front facing stitches. So I already have my chaining up of 3, and then yeah, it's just going to be all front stitches. You know, nothing to the back, just all in the front. So double, chain 1, double in the next, and chain 1, double in the next, chain 1, and so on and so forth all the way across. So regardless of whether it was in the back or in the front, this row, just bring them all to the front and chain 1. Just keep working your way across. And then after we're done with this, we can then start in with creating our border, our edging, and then we can bring it all together, make it look nice and polished and pretty. Sounds like a plan. So just got a couple more here. Not a big deal. Okie dokie. Getting there. Oops. All right. And 2 more. And then last one right into that eyelet space right there. And boom. So ultimately, you have all of these in the front, all of these in the front, and we are then all set to go for our edging. Alrighty. Okie dokie, my dears. So we are all set to do the borders. Now we're going to be doing one in the A color and also one in the B color. And then we're going to do a third one again with the A color so that we can seal it up. Now this is optional. It is not, required. You could leave the edging like this if you wanted to. It's totally fine. I think that it really finishes the piece nicely. So that is what we're going to do. Now, I already untied my knot that we initially did, holding the 2 strands together. I would suggest doing that. And then, well, I'm going to start with the B color. And then we'll do our 2 rounds with the A color and go from there. So going to pull out my loop a little bit because I don't need 3 chains. I just need 1. There we go. Okay, so because this light color is a box less in every direction, we need to give it some height. So we're going to do half double crochets all the way around our border here. And so going to start off by chaining up 1. Now, in the corner spaces, going to need a total of 5 stitches. In this case, half doubles. And what I found works best is starting with the increase and then do 2 on either side. So when we come full circle, we're going to do 1 half double and then slip stitch join to our grouping of 3 and then a little one over here. We'll get there at any rate. So doing half doubles, so yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull through all 3. Yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through all 3, that's 2. Yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through all 3, that's 3. One more. Okay, so we've got 4. So when we come full circle, we'll do 1 more in this space and then slip stitch join. Now, around these bars of the double crochets, do 2 half doubles around each bar. And then when we hit the bottom edge, we're going to do a half double in each double and 1 for each chain space. And then when we hit the corner, it's going to be 5 half doubles. Now, for this row, because like I said, we need to give it some height, we're doing half doubles. When we're doing the A color, the blue color, we're going to do only singles because we don't want to give it too much height. All right, so we reach the corner. So going to be doing 5 half doubles in this corner. So it's 1, 2, 3. Get the tail out of the way here. 4 and 5, and that works rather nicely, I think. Then we've reached a double, so half double in the double, half double in the chain space, and so on and so forth. So it's really that easy. Now, of course, you can experiment with the number of stitches if you want to use a different sized crochet hook, you know, to change the gauge and the tension a little bit. Totally up to you. This I have found works well for me, so that's why I'm suggesting it. And I'm just going to keep doing this all the way around, and I will meet back up with you when I am just about done with this particular round, okay? So it's 1 stitch per stitch, whether it's a double or a chain space, it's just half doubles. Then when you reach the corner, it's another 5. And then around each post, it's 2. In the corner, it's another 5. Work your way across this side the same way. It's 1 stitch per stitch, 1 stitch per chain space, and then in this corner space, we need a total of 5, so it'd be 1 stitch in here, then a slip stitch join. All right, so I'm going to work my way around, and I'll meet back up with you. So I'm almost done, as you can see, with the color B. Just got a couple more stitches to do, and then we can swap over and do color A 2 rounds. And what's nice about this is I still am using the same strand of the color B here, and we're going to use the same strand of color A. So there's really not a lot of ends to sew in this entire project, which is really quite fabulous. All right, so we are just about at the end here, so I still need to do 1 half double in this corner space, and then going to do a slip stitch into that first stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. So into the top of that first half double, do a slip stitch. There we are. So we've got our 5 in this corner now. See, it all comes full circle, right? All right. Then snip, snip, pull out our loop, and now we get to proceed with the dominant color. Now, we still have to add one round of single crochets to this side, and that will make things even. Now, initially, I thought that a half double wasn't going to be enough, so I did experiment, and I tried doing a round of double crochets. Honestly, I don't really think that it looked, that much better. If anything, I think it looked a little cattywampus, to coin a phrase. Didn't care for it much. So I think that doing a half double works just fine. All right, so now we're going to switch gears, and we're going to do essentially the exact same thing, but with single crochets as opposed to half doubles, starting the exact same way. So it would be a chaining up of 1, and then going to be doing a total of 4 single crochets in this corner. The 5th one we will do on the return. So that's 1. Oops, I almost did a half. 2, 3, and 4. And then under each post, 2 stitches, 2 single crochet stitches. So it's really the exact same thing for the rest of the round. Instead of half doubles, we're just doing singles. That's the only difference. And then after I'm done with this round, I'm going to do one more round, and that's going to be the joining round, combining this edge with the B color edge. And it's not quite as cut and dry as I initially thought that it would be. Okay, we've reached a corner. So I need to do 5 singles in here. It's 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then a single in the double, and a single in the chain space across this edge. Yeah, it's not completely cut and dry as I initially thought that it would be, because if you recall, when we first did our boxes, there's one more with the darker color than the lighter color. So we need to make some minor adjustments, and that is because, well, we have more boxes on the one side than the other, meaning we also have more stitches on one side than the other. So we're going to have to do a little bit of finagling and a little bit of decreasing, if you will, to compensate, but we will get there. So I'm going to do the rest of this round off camera, since you know what to expect, and then we'll do the next round together and join up our pieces, and that will be that, my dears. All right, so I will see you in a bit. Okay, so I've just got a few more stitches to do, and then we can start in the actual joining aspect of these two layers. Okay, so I did that one. Now I just have to do one more single into this corner, and then slip stitch into that first single and chain up 1. Okay, now we are going to have to, well, we're going to have to wing it a little bit, to be perfectly honest, because we need to decrease the number of stitches that we're going to be doing with this blue yarn, this dominant color, the color A, in order to fit into the stitches on the color B, because, well, if you don't decrease on this side, we're going to run out of stitches on this side, okay, because we've got fewer of them on the color B. So that being said, all right, right now we are on the second stitch of the blue. And how I envision this, if this makes any sense, is we're going to run out of stitches here before here. So we could start with a decrease on the blue. And so what we're going to do is go into that first stitch of the blue that we just worked into, pull up a loop, and then go into the next stitch of the blue. Don't pull up a loop, but we're going to go into the sugar cookie. Yeah, that's the ticket. Go into the sugar cookie and go into that second stitch, and we're going to do single crochets. You could do slip stitches, but I think single crochets look a little bit nicer. So we have a total of 2 loops and 2 stitches on there. And then so bring the yarn through those 2 stitches and then bring the yarn through those loops. So we decreased and we joined. Okay, then let's do another one as well right now. So through the loop there and pull up a loop, going through the next one, and then go into the next stitch behind, pull through both of those stitches, got stuck, there we go, pull through both of those, and then pull through the rest of your loops for a single crochet. Now, going to continue along with just regular single crochets for a while until we reach the next corner. So pull through both and then pull through. And I go through both layers of the stitch, you know, not just the fronts or the backs or anything. I go through all of them. You know, that is, again, personal preference. Now, what you could do, okay, is you could go through the back loop of our current layer and then the front loop of the next layer, which is a little bit more fiddly than how I was doing it just now. You know, go through those loops and do your single crochets through there. If you wanted to, you could. It would produce like a little less bulk, but honestly, I think that doing this way is fine. So going underneath both legs of the stitch, through both legs of the stitch, pull yarn loops up through there, and then through 2. And so I'm going to do this all the way across until we reach the next corner and see how our alignment is. And if I'm not mistaken, excuse me, if we decrease 2 stitches per corner, that should work out for us. And, you know, honestly, a guy riding by on horseback is not going to notice the difference, okay? We will notice because we're the ones who made this, right? But anybody else is not going to notice this because it is such a minor little point. I know it's the devil in the details and it drives us crazy. I'm just like the rest of you. I totally get it. All right, so we're approaching our first corner. And let's see how we are doing as far as the stitches. So over here, we are just about at the corner. And over here, we are just about at the corner. Perfect, even though we ultimately have more stitches on the blue than on the sugar cookie. So we're going to do some more decreasing. So going into that first blue stitch, pull up a loop, into the next stitch, and then going into the back, pull through those stitches, then pull through those loops. Let's do another one. Go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, and go into the stitch in the back, pull through the stitches, pull through the loops, and that should suffice, I think, until the next corner. You know, another way of doing it, which I'm going to show you right now, is instead of doing 2 back to back, like we just did, we could do this initial decrease that we just did, then do, say, 2 stitches regularly, like this, and then do another decrease. That is another option. You know, like I said, there is a little bit of fiddling and finagling. It's not, you know, exact because we're trying to compensate for the size difference. So pull up a loop, pull through that second, we'll pull, you know, put through the second, and then go into that stitch in the back, pull up, and then pull through our loops there. So how are we as far as the alignment? We're just about at the end here, and we still have like another stitch on this side. That is okay. That is a doable point. You know, it's not going to be perfect. Okay, I'll be the first to tell you, but we can try. Now, if any of you know of an alternative method, hey, write it down in the comments section. You know, I am not about to say that I am the end-all be-all on anything, but this, it worked for me. You know, to my level of satisfaction, it's fine. And then just keep working your way until the next corner and try to work accordingly. Now, how does this look? You know, this side compared to this side, I think it looks pretty good. You know, it's not buckling, it's not doing the wibbly wobbly timey-wimey thing. I think it's looking pretty good, pretty sharp. So I'm going to keep going in the same fashion for a bit until I reach this next corner, and then I'll meet back up with you. Okie dokie, so we are almost at another corner, so I figured I would walk you through it if needs be and see what we can do about some more decreases if necessary, because we're going to have to do some more regardless, and I think that the corners are really the best place to do it. Personal opinion, because we have so many stitches to work with in the corners. Okay, so we are about, well, we're almost there to our first stitch in the corner grouping on the blue side. Okay, so how are we on the other side? Yeah, we're about there. So yeah, things are lining up nicely, actually. So let's continue doing our decreasing. So again, going in through that next stitch, pull up a loop, go in through the next stitch, then go in through the stitch in the back, pull through those 2 stitches, and then pull through the remainder of the loops. Let's do 2 more regular single crochet joins, and then we'll do another decrease, and then in theory, yes, we should be all set and dandy for the next corner. There we are. And also, it's not a bad idea to check over your work to make sure that you didn't miss any stitches on the back side. Looking nice and pretty. I think we got it. All right. So yeah, I'm going to keep on keeping on in the same fashion, you know, decreasing at the corners, and then keep joining regularly with the rest of the stitches until we reach the end. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing as I've been doing, and I will meet back up with you when I am done. All right, I will see you shortly. So I followed suit along this side as normal. In this corner, I again decreased 2 of the blue stitches and haven't done anything different along, this edge here, and just going to do my last remaining few stitches with you. You know me, I like to touch base. And if my calculations are correct, all of my stitches should be of the same count, which would be lovely. One more here. And then one more, and then we are good and golden. Through there, and shaboom. I think we got it. Yeah, that's everybody. Oh, that's awesome sauce. So, at this point, all you need to do is then join with a slip stitch to that first stitch that we did. And cut your yarn. Give yourself a tail for sewing in your ends. And out of the entire project, you have one end here. You've got another end for that, and then your two beginning. So the entire project only has 4 ends to sew in. And I think it looks pretty fantabulous. And so this is the dominant side. This is my preferred side. And then this is the sort of passive, recessive, not dominant color side. And they both look really pretty, very polished, and all smack dab and ready to go. Yes! So that, my dears, is the full repeat, as well as how to join and finish up your piece looking all nice and pretty. Alrighty, my dears, so that is going to conclude the tutorial of the Interlocked Crochet Bargello Stitch. Really hope that you liked it, and if you did, please give a little thumbs up button down below. You know that I appreciate your appreciation as always. And in the comments section, let me know what you think of this particular technique. What sort of a project are you going to make? Honestly, I think that this lends itself best to any sort of a blanket, whether it's a baby blanket or something of a larger adult size, whatever. I love this. It has got the most delightful texture. It's got a really cool design. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, because there are literally a million different ways that you can utilize these stitches to create all sorts of different patterns. And I was thinking about doing at least another one of these tutorials, as well as perhaps a tutorial more focusing on the mechanics and the patterns and how you can create your own patterns. It's definitely something that I am toying with. Now, there's a lot of information out there on the subject already, and of course, I encourage you to check it out. However, I would be more than happy to, if there's enough of an uproar for it, because everybody teaches things differently. Even if it's teaching the same thing, we all teach things in a different way, which, it's why I do what I do. I've got my own, I got my own little je ne sais quoi. Sometimes a little bit more quoi than je ne, but at any rate, thank you very, very much for watching. Hope that you liked it. And until next time, you know what to do, right? I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now, everybody, and have a great day.